you don't mind, we'd like to start with a letter to the editor, okay?
Okay.
Just for conversation here.
Okay.
So back on, let's see, this was the 23rd of September. I'm sure you know this letter intimately. It was from Fabio Gazelle, right? And he says, in just summary, he said, Len Suzio introduced me to politics after my father was murdered. When Len Suzio needed me, I heard from him every day. When I needed help, Suzio was nowhere. Dante was there for me. And he goes on to describe a bad situation that he had at working for a gas station. You apparently helped him, and he concludes with, this November, I hope we re-elect Dante. That's a wonderful letter, vote of support for you. But can you talk to us and tell us more about this? I mean, where was the sea change here? Because he used to be the poster boy for Len Suzio, right? Big time. And all of a sudden it shifted dramatically. I mean, you know, tell us about it.
Yeah, you know, that's a really sad situation, actually. Matter of fact, I have on my phone, he called me 3 times today. You know, when all of this happened with the Easy Martin Abraham was murdered, I at the time was on the city council, and I reached out and connected with his mother and his sister, which based on their culture was considered most appropriate. And he actually was still in Jordan at the time. And so I had many meetings with them at their home. Actually one day my mom was at my house and we were outside gardening, and his mother and sister pulled up and got out of the car. They were on their way actually to go to the cemetery. And it was extremely moving because his mother doesn't speak any English. And just by kind of the emotion, she ended up crying, my mother ends up hugging her. I mean, it was extremely emotional. And what I had said to his sister at that point in time was that I was there to help them, but I would not be the person putting them in front of the press. And I stuck to that agreement, to that promise, to that commitment. They didn't ask me for that, but they, you know, I said that and I stuck to that. Then, not long after, he came back from Jordan, Fabio did, and somehow, and I don't know how, but somehow Len Suzio connected with him. And it kind of went on this, you know, these 2 different pathways. So when talking with his sister and meeting with his sister and his mother a couple times, I did meet him as well. And it was this interesting thing because he was really looking for somebody who was going to put his father in the press. You know, he wanted this for his father. He wanted fame for his father for the way that he speaks about it. And that was something that apparently Len Suzio wanted as well. And so they went down that pathway together. And there was multiple times actually that he reached out to me, that Fabio reached out to me and was upset with, I guess the way, and I'm paraphrasing, the way he was being treated. He had, because it was at the beginning of our campaign the last time, he had told me that he was being treated as a worker. He was being brought around to door knock. He was going to these press conferences all over the place. And, but you know, at the same point in time, he still wanted to be in the public eye. You know, he felt that this was a way to honor his father. What ended up happening, I think, there's 2 things that he describes, well, 3 things he describes to me as changing his opinion on all this. One was he was being told by Len Suzio and his network of supporters, he was being told that I was in fact not wanting to change the earned risk reduction credit program. And quite frankly, he's told us recently, he said, I didn't even know what that program was. I was just told this was the program that was going to, you know, help my father's memory in a sense, right? So, and again, I'm paraphrasing because there's a lot of language barriers with him. He's, you know, he's just now 2 years later, a lot easier to understand. And so what happened was he's being told that, you know, no, she wants to let criminals out. You know, some of the things that I think you've even quoted in your paper, some phrases from Len Suzio about saying that, you know, I wanted to let these people go. And then he came up to the Capitol with Len at one point because there was a press conference in 2013 around Senator Markley's legislation. And when he came up there, they did a little press conference first, and then there was an opportunity before the committee to testify. And so I had a bill in front of the committee. There's a YouTube video about it now, and I was testifying about my changes. And Fabio was there, and he was sitting in the audience, and I happened to be the first one called prior to them. And when he heard my testimony is when he realized that in fact he was being lied to. So he ended up...
He was being lied to by
Len Suzio,
okay.
And probably Senator Markley, but that group, because they were saying that I wasn't trying to change the law.
And by lied to, just one more interruption now.
Yeah, please.
Manipulated by them?
You could say that, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that was the purpose of being lied to, right?
Yeah, I mean, they wanted him to continue to campaign with them, and they were telling him untruths that I was not of the same like mind, that this law needed to change.
Okay.
And so when he saw me sitting there, and this is what he tells me, what I knew that day was that I saw him in the building, I saw him at the press conference, I go to testify, I see him in the audience. When I'm done testifying and I go to get up, I'm told later that he's called, and I wasn't in the room, I left the room, but I'm told that he was called, he got up there, and then basically just like panicked and left and didn't testify. And so he now tells me that that's what happened, that in fact that's when he realized that he was being lied to and that I was genuinely trying to help the family. So that was one thing. Another thing he now tells me was that when there was video of their being at the court in New Haven, and when his mom came out on the steps, and when Len put his arm around, and I think even like touched her head or something.
In some way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, especially because culturally that is so inappropriate, that that made him extremely angry. That, and also combination with the fact that he had gone to Len Suzio's house, and Len had written some letters to the editor. Now I don't know exactly when these letters were, but referenced in there that, like putting words in Suzio's mouth, that Len was like a father to him. And so what his reaction when he told me about the story in the courthouse, he said, so what is this? He wants to be a father to me, a husband to my wife. That's exactly how he took that. So that was another piece of this puzzle. So, and then the thing he refers to in there was about the gas station owner who was paying him very, very little. You know, he came to me, and I can't speak to the conversations he had with Len about that. He says he knew all that, but he came to me asking if we could investigate. And so we, as we would with any other constituent, we placed a call to the Department of Labor, and in fact they have agreed. They said that they're doing an investigation. We've heard no results from them yet.
So the sea change then, the thing that really was pivotal here was that when he realized, based on the testimony in Hartford and your interaction there, that he was being manipulated, lied to.
So it's been cumulative.
Yes, and then it just ultimated in New Haven at the courthouse session there with all of that. That just pushed it over the edge.
That absolutely pushed him over the edge. He had been coming to me, calling me since last spring maybe.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't. His thing was he wants to know who needs him.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've said to him all along is, I don't need anything from you, but I'm more than happy to help you. This is my job. And so he liked that Len Suzio needed him, and he will tell you that. Matter of fact, I think he has sat down with Dan Recklin. He he wanted to be needed. You know, this is his purpose. He apparently somehow, some way in Jordan, this has even been on the radio, and so, you know, he really feels as though he's honoring his father.